You know that voice in the back of your head that keeps saying, is this really what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Yeah, that one gets louder every Monday morning. Most people think that escaping the 9 to 5 means handing in your notice, crossing your fingers, and hoping it all works out, but that's actually the fastest way to crash. The truth is, the real risk isn't quitting. The real risk is leaving without a system, because without one, you end up right back where you started. Burned out, broke, or worse, stuck again, just this time without a paycheck. And I know because I've been there. I had a great corporate job, a solid paycheck, steady path, the kind of thing you're supposed to want. You know, the kind of job that makes your parents proud and your soul slightly less so. But deep down, I wasn't fulfilled. I could see the next 30 years of my life, and it scared me more than leaving ever did. And that's when I built my own system. The exact one that took me from employee to brand owner. And it's the same one I've used to help other experts do the same. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact 4-step system to launch your brand and escape the 9 to 5 without burning bridges, without guesswork, and without risking everything all at once. Step 1 is all about what you do before you quit, because if you skip this, nothing else matters. Step 1, prepare. When I worked in corporate, things were fine. It was a good job, a stable paycheck, and on paper it made perfect sense. But every day that same thought would creep in. Why am I working so hard to build someone else's dream? And that thought started to feel heavier. It wasn't that I hated my job, it just didn't feel like mine. I knew I was capable of more, but I was scared to take the leap, scared to lose that safety net. Then one day I realized something that completely changed how I saw it. If I stayed where I wasn't avoiding risk, I was guaranteeing regret. That hit me hard. So most people think leaving your job is like jumping off a cliff and hoping wings appear on the way down, but that's not how this works. You don't just jump, you build a runway. You save up, you plan, and you get your systems in place. Every bit of preparation adds more runway, and the longer your runway, the smoother your takeoff. Because if you try to lift it off too early, you crash. But when you build it right, when you're intentional, you take off smoothly and you never look back. So, how do you build that runway before you quit? Financial prep. Well, the first piece is financial prep. Work out your monthly burn rate. How much you need to live, not thrive. Rent, food, insurance, bills, and then build a small emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses is ideal, but even 1 month gives you breathing room. Every dollar you save adds more length to your runway and more confidence when you finally take off. Foundational setup. The second piece is your foundational setup. Treat this like assembling your plane before the flight. Register your business name and structure. Get your EIN so you can open a business bank account and file taxes properly. Set up a way to take payments, Stripe, PayPal, whatever makes sense for you. Draft simple contracts so you're ready when someone says yes. These things might sound small, but they give you momentum. They make it real. When you've handled them early, you don't get stuck fixing basics later when clients are waiting. And you don't have to figure this stuff out alone. I've put together a free guide that walks you through this setup, and it's all linked below. First, clients. The third piece is early momentum. Start getting your name out there quietly while you're still employed. Post small wins on LinkedIn, talk to a few trusted people, and offer help where it fits. This isn't a public "I quit" announcement. It's a soft testing to prove you can build traction. Because the more you prepare now, the smoother your takeoff will be later. And that's what building a runway really is, reducing fear through action. Once your runway is ready, it's time for your first test flights. Those early projects that prove you can stay in the air. So, how do you land those? Step 2, prove your first clients. A runway doesn't do much good if the plane just sits there. You have to taxi forward, feel the wheels lift, and prove you can actually fly. But here's where most people stall out. They think those first flights will come after they quit. So they stay parked, waiting for ready, and the fuel, their motivation, just burns away. When I started, I didn't wait until I had it all figured out. I used work I'd already done in my corporate role as my first bits of proof that I could deliver solutions people actually wanted to pay for. Then I reached out to people I already knew, coworkers, friends, warm contacts, and simply asked if they needed help. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't public, but it got me in the air. And that's the first real goal, Proof you can do this. You can take off. You can fly. And to do that, all you need is a handful of clients willing to let you run your first few test flights. Who's going to let you take that seat in the cockpit? And how do you actually find them? The answer is simpler than you think, because the first people to trust you are the ones who already do. Start with your warm network. Friends, old coworkers, past clients, people who already know you're capable. You're not asking for charity, you're giving them a chance to be your first passengers. All you need to say is something like, hey, I'm starting to take on some projects outside of work. I got a few open spots for people who want whatever your service solves for them. Would that be useful for you or anyone you know? That's it. You don't need a pitch deck or a funnel or anything like that. You just need a genuine offer to help. If no one bites, that's okay. Offer to do a free project in exchange for a testimonial. It's like buying your first round. You won't regret it when everybody remembers your name later. Because one great testimonial, one real result, is worth more than your first paycheck. It's proof you can deliver. And that proof is what gets the next person to say yes. And that's how you build momentum. And remember, these first clients, they're your test flights. Shorter, closer to home, low risk, but absolutely essential. Each one builds confidence. Each one proves your plane can actually fly. And once you've done that, it's time to chart your flight path and get clear on where you're headed. Step 3, clarify. A pilot doesn't just take off and hope for the best. They file a flight plan. They know where they're going, how they'll fly, and what route they'll take to get there. But most new business owners, they skip that part entirely. They take off with no destination and end up circling endlessly until the fuel runs out. That's what happens when you don't know who you help and what you do for them. You try to be all things to everyone, and instead of taking off, you just spin your wheels on the tarmac. I've seen this over and over. People say, I don't want to niche down. I don't want to limit myself. But here is the truth. When you try to be for everyone, you end up being forgettable to everyone. Because if you're not specific, no one knows where to put you in their mind. They can't remember you, can't refer you work, and definitely can't hire you. When I first started, I fell into that trap too. I told people I was a designer, and they'd nod politely and never call. It wasn't until I got clear that things started to change. I realized I wasn't just a designer, I was someone who helped people launch brands. And when I combined that with my other skills, brand strategy, copywriting, consulting, content marketing, I stopped being a designer and became the guy who helps experts turn what they know into a brand. And that's when people started reaching out to me. So, how do you get that kind of clarity for yourself? There are 3 ways to specialize, or 3 ways to set your flight path. 1, by industry. Pick one market to serve. Landscapers, chiropractors, real estate agents, whatever fits. This is for sure the easiest way to do this, but can feel a little narrow. By skill stack. Take your core skill and combine it with other skills that make you unique. Like a marketer who learns automation and analytics. They stop being the ad person and become the go-to for predictable growth. By desire. Focus on solving a problem for people who share a specific goal, not a specific job title. And that's what we do, helping people launch brands and escape the 9-to-5. It doesn't matter what industry they're in, the desire is the same. The goal is simple. When someone hears what you do, they should instantly think, that's for me. If they can't do that yet, you're still flying without a destination. And if you want help getting that clarity, the Business Backbone Guide, linked in the description, has a full section that walks you through it. Because when you set your flight path, every decision after that becomes easier. Who to market to, what content to make, what offers to build. It's all aligned. And now that you've got direction, it's time to take off for real. Step 4, launch. That moment when you launch your brand is more than just a logo drop or a LinkedIn post. It's the point where you stop being an employee and start being a brand owner. And here's the thing, most people don't realize, launching your brand doesn't just make you visible to the world, it makes your dream real to you. I see it happen all the time with our clients. The second they launch, something shifts. They start introducing themselves differently. They think bigger, act bolder, and suddenly, people start taking them seriously. Many even celebrate it by printing their logo on a hat or a shirt. Not because they need merch, but because it's a signal to the world and to themselves that they've built something that's theirs. That's what this step is all about, claiming your identity as a brand. So, what does that look like in practice? Craft an identity. Choose your name, colors, and visuals, something cohesive and recognizable. Build credibility signals. A website or landing page, a few testimonials and professional assets so people take you seriously. Announce it publicly. Share your story. Tell people what you're doing and why. Don't overthink it. The story is the announcement. Live it. Put it on your LinkedIn header, your email signature, your invoices, everywhere. Make it a part of your identity, because when you show up as your brand consistently, your audience starts to believe it too. And if you're wondering how to pull all of this off together, how to design your visuals, position your brand, and launch it with confidence, the Business Backbone Guide breaks it all down, step by step. It's linked below. You don't escape the 9-to-5 by jumping and hoping it works out. You escape by following a system. You plan your exit. You take your first test flights. You set your flight path. And then you take off. That's the exact system I used to leave my corporate job, and the same one I've helped countless others use to do the same. And if you've made it this far, you already know. This isn't about getting lucky. It's about doing the work that gives you freedom. But here's the thing. Once you launch your brand, a new challenge shows up, getting people outside your circle to believe in you. So, in the next video, I'm going to show you how to build trust and attention with people who've never met you and turn total strangers into believers in your brand.